We have in Congress, at least in the House of Representatives, genuine bipartisan interest in upgrading antitrust laws so that they fit better the economic reality of 2021. And so that, I think, got a big boost from the judge's decision. But how much that's going to affect Facebook remains to be seen. I think the core issue that we have is that 40 years ago, we decided to invert antitrust law. So previously, they've been focused on preventing concentrated economic power. And beginning in 1981, we imposed something called the Consumer Welfare Standard that said, so long as prices to consumers don't go up, there's no limit how much economic power can be concentrated or what other things you can do with it. And this case was literally exactly perfect example of why that needs to be redebated. But from Facebook's point of view, I think the stock reacted correctly yesterday. This was not helpful to the government, which, let's face it, they haven't done an antitrust case since Microsoft in the 90s, and their muscle tone for regulation has just gotten very flabby.
So is one of the takeaways that realistically, to see anything meaningful, we're going to have to see legislation and all parts and all sides of the government come together, and is that likely?
Well, not necessarily. The state of Texas has an antitrust case against both Google and Facebook for price fixing that is unaffected by the decision yesterday. That case, should the federal government decide to take it up, which is entirely possible, is the kind of thing that could cause a very radical change, because price fixing is the greatest crime you can commit in antitrust, and it is punishable by prison terms for executives. For example, the CEO of Bumblebee Tuna is currently in federal prison for price fixing in a case that's about 1% as large as the one that Google and Facebook are accused of. So there are a lot of things that have been going on. So from an investor point of view, I think the thing we have to look at is something like water torture, where there's going to be a constant drip of regulatory things from Europe, from Australia, from the United States. And I don't think there's any death blow coming. And I think in the United States, at least, regulation is going to take a very long time to come through the process. But I do think regulation is increasing, and that from an investor's point of view, Facebook has just bought itself a little breather, but I don't think it's out of the woods. I think Google is still completely in the crosshairs, and I think Amazon is as well.